Hello, Utah fans and film fanatics. It's Elijah coming to you from day 2 of the Utah International Film Festival. With me, I have Matt Smith. We're going to be talking about Vanished Years. I had the privilege of getting to talk to Matt at a mingle yesterday, so I already know a little bit about this, and I'm super excited that we get to highlight you in this interview. So, Matt, please tell us a little bit about Vanished Years and its premise.
So Vanished Years is a project I wrote, directed, and edited and shot when I was still in school, just about 6 months ago or so, maybe a little more than that. And I finally got around to finishing it, and it's kind of a project that was near and dear to me. I was busy working on it at the same time as I was editing my capstone. My official senior capstone was a whole different movie, and the whole time I was trying to direct and produce and do this all at the same time. But it's really personal to me. The best way I've found to describe it is it's kind of a thriller-esque short film where it's kind of like a 10-minute short narrative short, right? And that ends with an 80s music video. It's really personal to me because all of the music is original music that my dad wrote when he was in high school in the 80s, and it's all based on true stories of things that he went through. Even the name Vanished Years is actually the name of one of the albums he wrote when he was in high school, and I thought as this kind of look-back nostalgia type film, I really like that as the title, even though I think it's actually my dad's least favorite album, but that's all right. He doesn't need to know.
There you go. Honestly, it is a premise that I just immediately fell in love with when you were describing it last night, and I am extremely excited to get to see it. So we've been asking folks to also just tell us a little bit about the pre-production element of it. How did casting go, or what other elements of pre-production do you want to share?
So pre-production was interesting because, again, the plan changed a lot. And this was also while I was busy with this other capstone project. And so a lot of it was trying to balance what time I had with what I was able to pull off within that time, right? And so early on, I just wanted to do a music video for this particular song, Hurricane Woman, which you'll get to hear when you watch the movie. That is our family's favorite song that my dad ever wrote. We love it so much. It's that perfect mix of like actually pretty good, but also some like 80s cringy nostalgia stuff. It's just all boiled into one. And so originally I just wanted to do a music video for that. But then the more I got talking with my dad, he would just tell these stories of his childhood growing up. Youngest of 9 kids. His father left pretty early on. And so his brother introduced him to like Billy Joel so he could avoid the parents fighting. And there's just all sorts of crazy stories. And sometimes he would just say some random, terribly sad story out of nowhere. And you'd be like, I've never heard that before, but that's insane that that's actually how your life went, right? And so I wanted to do this for him. But I'm like, these stories you're telling me are so crazy that I think they would be a good narrative short as well. And so the story behind Hurricane Woman is this story he'll tell at the piano. And so I wanted to kind of do a mix of that, where take these true stories he's told, kind of adapt them a bit, twist them, for dramatic effect, if you will, and then make this narrative that then leads into the short film that you're going to see. That's the biggest thing with pre-production, was just figuring out going from music video to possibly 2 music videos. There was an early on thing that I had to scrap pretty early on so that I didn't have time for a short and 2 music videos all in one. But that was how it went early on. And when it got to casting, I put out a casting call to a couple different groups and actors that I knew. The toughest part, so I got a lot of actresses that applied for it with auditions, and so that went pretty smoothly. But by the time it got closer and closer to shooting, I only had 1 male audition at all, and I had 2 male parts. And luckily, his audition was good, so I was like, great, you can have the main part. And then a couple of days before we were supposed to shoot, he's like, well, I may have a commercial thing one of these days, but there's this. And I was like, well, great, so we'll see. And luckily, that ended up not being a problem. And then I was able to talk with some professors, and there was a student who was a director-actor, was what he was hoping to be. And so I just reached out to him and said, hey, do you want this part, this side character in this film? And he's like, sure. And that was that, and we got into filming.
That's awesome, man. So to overcome those challenges, especially to have one person and then they're like, well, I'm tentative.
Yeah.
So very cool. And I that really does go to show the power of networking in person as well as virtual, right? One of the things we enjoy about the film festival is getting to do exactly that. Now, in terms of your any during production, Did you have any like either major challenges you want to highlight or any fun stories you want to share?
Yeah, there's a couple, and I'm going to try and make it quick for you here.
No rush.
But the main thing was just that we were working with such a small crew for the time we had. I knew going into this project that the sheer number of shots I needed to get both a music video and this entire narrative short before then, I knew that I was going to need to like separate it out. I think the music video alone was like 100 plus shots or something, and we were trying to shoot that amongst everything else. And so it was all sorts of stuff all over the place. But I was going to be shooting in Salt Lake. And because I was shooting in Salt Lake, most of my crew, because this was a student project, right, would be fellow students. And of course, even though I'm paying my actors, the bare minimum as a student can get an actor, right? Mm-hmm. But all of my crew were like, hey, do you want to just come help me on this? Because you're my fellow student, I helped on your project, right? And so my crew ended up being me, my friend who shot it, the DP, Nathan, and then I had a friend, Daxon, who was the AD, and then I hired a sound guy, so we'd have at least somebody to run sound. And that was the entire crew besides the actors. And then when it came time to shoot, again, I knew I only had 3 days. And because of just scheduling issues, we didn't have time to do a rehearsal at all. And so I wanted to specifically plan my shoot days in a way that would allow the actors to work into what I wanted them to do in the story. So like day one, I shot all these scenes that were supposed to be basically between two strangers, and the scenes are supposed to be awkward and super awkward, which worked because the actors had never met each other, and now we're shooting this scene. And even if we practiced it once or twice sitting there, it's like, oh, you guys are kind of awkward around each other. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to happen. And then we shot some random B-roll stuff for the music video, like all this MOS stuff. And that was a way to break the ice between these three people that were supposed to be friends. So then when we got to the second shoot day, these three people had already done a bunch of crazy stuff for the music video together. So when they actually had dialogue scenes together, they had met. They knew each other. And so I think that helped out there. The craziest story, and this is a fun Easter egg if you ever watch this movie, anytime we're outside, there's a crazy neighbor lady just out of frame watching us. She came out, we were shooting across the street on this street, which is fine. And she came out and watched us. And again, it's exciting. Why not watch this movie production thing happen? But then she just kind of kept watching us. And then she went inside and changed and came back outside and then lied on the ground and watched us. And then as we're crossing the street to switch to this other side of this in front of this house, she comes running out of her house with a painting and says, do you guys want this? And we're like, well, I guess. And so we take this painting inside and we're taking a break because it's really hot. So we're making sure everyone has water and everyone's doing good. And then I'm out there with the lead actor sitting on the porch talking about the next scene and things we're going to do. And then she starts setting up these things in front of this tree. There's another smaller, much worse painting. And then a candle and a note. And she's setting up this whole Boo Radley shrine against this tree. And then she walks over and is like, this isn't for my drug dealer. And we're like, okay. And then she walks away. And then she comes back and adds something else to the shrine. And then she casts a spell on it and says, do not send me Adderall in the mail. And then she walks away, and we're like, okay, won't do that. So then we kept that. I think my lead actor took the big, better painting. I still have the small one up in my room now, actually.
Like a memento.
Yeah.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
so then there was that. And then again, later we were filming, and she came back, and she was walking over with her cat. And we assumed she just wanted to walk down the sidewalk because we're on the sidewalk. So we're like, oh, no, you good. You can totally walk by. She's like, no, I just wanted to let you guys know that my cat is Hitler. And we're like, okay. And then she turns around and walks away. And that sort of thing happens throughout. So she came back and she watched, and then she would walk around with music playing. The nice thing is anytime we said quiet on set, we're going for take, she'd stop.
Oh, wow.
She wouldn't talk during any of that. So she'd stop and then watch. And then there was a kid across the street at some point, and she may have been talking to her cat, but she yelled at someone. They said quiet on set. And I was like, please don't get the other neighbors upset at us filming this out here. That's the last thing I need, right?
Yeah.
And she would walk down the driveway of someone else's house and then down this other alleyway. And then the craziest one, those are all the craziest ones, honestly. It's hard to top.
Yeah.
But my main actor, Onias, who you'll see in the film, he was standing there. We were filming something for the music video, and she came over into the neighbor's yard and leaned on their fence and watched it. And then out of nowhere, she's like, what did she say? Too black to play Puerto Rican, too Puerto Rican to play black. What? And we're like, what does that even... and my actor's like, okay. And then she walked away. So pretty much any time, if you watch this film on Thursday at 5,
When
you can
you watch it on Thursday.
When you watch it on Thursday at 5, pretty much anytime it's outside, whether it's a part of the music video or in the narrative short, she's just off frame watching the whole thing. And so that's just a fun thing you can keep
Yeah.
for yourself there.
I would have been tempted to turn the camera around and just be like, please.
Right? Yeah, I think maybe she wanted a part. Maybe that's it.
Right.
Again,
That seemed
so-
to be. Yeah.
It
Holding
should
for
be-
Cat Lady is new to me.
Yeah. And so
So-
that was exciting. And then again, my sister currently lives in that house that we were shooting at. And when I talked to her, she's like, "Yeah, I don't even know about that neighbor. I don't know about a lady living there." It's like,
That's
all right, that sounds good. Okay.
By the way, yeah.
So that was
Very-
probably the craziest thing during production, though.
Yeah, I could see that being the craziest in our series, I think. So
Maybe.
that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then just in terms of having this film at the Utah International Film Festival, what would you say are some goals that you'd like to have with folks seeing this?
I think it's kind of twofold. I think for one, kind of going back to what I mentioned about how it's like a love letter to my dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was the choir teacher at Bountiful High School for years and years, and just recently had to step away to a medical leave of absence due to his Meniere's disease, right? Music has been his whole life, and now his hearing loss has taken a decline. And on top of that, just like a lot of times music and tones will like sound off to him. And so even though he's been pretty happy so far with this, start of retired life, he's still like, music, the one thing he's always loved, is something he can't do as much anymore. He's also a very social person, but like being in a large crowd drives him crazy and stuff like that. And so it's always made me sad in there. And I just think this story and his music is exactly as I mentioned, is part of it, a little bit of that 80s nostalgia cringe, yes. But I also think there's a certain amount of actually impressive music that he made when he was in high school in the 80s. And I just think it's worth people seeing. And then on top of that, I mean, this is something a lot of people that I think graduated from film school can probably feel. There's a certain level of like imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like, well, I've made this film, but I'm seeing all these other films and they're even better. And there's this, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, whatever is just in your head. But I think having a film be in a festival, trying to get into festivals, even if it's with your student work or if it's your first short out of school, whatever it is you're doing, I think it's just a great way to show that, like, in a sense at least, I am on the same level as these people. And even if some of them are better and whatever, it gives you a place where you're like, I can do better, I can do this. This industry is something I can keep doing and enjoying and being a part of, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like I deserve to be, right?
And believe me, you are not alone. That is very common. But I think what's great, again, just about this film festival and our community at large, is there's a lot of reassurance, a lot of talent, and it's just so great to have gotten the chance to meet you and to see this work soon. So thank you for the work you put in on that. Again, super excited, and thanks for your time. Is there anything else, Matt, you want to bring up?
I don't know. Feels pretty good.
Awesome.
Go see it on Thursday.
I love it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for checking this one out. If you are catching this now, please, Wednesday, come check out this awesome, awesome film. In the meantime, stay tuned in.